Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. We're talking about flooding and living near rivers and built on seaplanes and why it happens. And it's a shame to see devastation and things like that in places like Louisiana. Hope everybody recovers and survives it.
Absolutely.
Zara, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sarah Altair, and I write for the web, and I do not live on a floodplain.
Terry?
Terry Van Horn. I live in Toronto, Ontario. I don't know what I do. I'm retired right now, I guess.
Doc.
Doc Sheldon of Intrinsic Value SEO. I'm down south of the border in street taco land.
Street taco land?
Yeah. Best tacos to get are street tacos. Yeah, mystery spices.
I live not too far away from the taco stand in Encinitas. I agree. Thomas, please introduce yourself.
Tom Zickel, founder of Blueprint Marketing. Right now, I'm in Newcastle, New Hampshire, but next week I'll be in Boca Raton, Florida.
And I'm Bill Slosky of SEO by the Sea, and that's the Pacific. I'm the director of SEO research for Go Fish Digital, and I'm nowhere near a floodplain. Well, there are some lagoons that are nearby that have this road may flood warnings next to them.
Well, you know, I can see the ocean off my balcony, but I'm 100 feet above sea level, so it's going to take a pretty hefty surge to make it into our patio.
I'm lucky too. I can see the water, but there's 47 feet of granite between me and the sea, so very lucky.
I'm about a 10-minute drive from the beach, and I can't hear it from here, but I can feel it. The Pacific is cool. It blows cool air.
Yeah, you can see that when you get close to the water, the fog effect and all that. Cooler temperatures. It's always a little bit cooler in the summertime, a little warmer in the winter.
We do get some warm winds blowing this way in October. And they're referred to as Santa Ana winds. They come with wildfires.
Oh, wow. So that's been a lot of fires out there this last year. I'm assuming it's just most of it was the electricity company, right? Last year.
Not most of it.
Yeah, there were sparks flying from the wires. They should bury all that stuff underground.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, global climate change, obviously, and a combination of human error or just neglect of certain things, not cutting back trees.
A couple of years in California, there's been an awful lot of human negligence and error, and massive damage because of human error.
When I lived on the East Coast, we used to have transmission wires above ground going through treed areas, but the utility companies were always sending people out to trim the trees and to keep them from sparking fires.
They stopped doing that?
I don't see that happening as much here on the West Coast.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wide open area here too, with a lot of vegetation.
They should put some sort of a backing around those things. I don't know if it would help it completely, but do something to prevent. Yeah, put it underground, like you said.
They should bury those underground.
Bury underground, yeah.
Especially in old parts of the city. When they dig up for the sewers, they might as well lay the fucking electrical then too.
But there's cables. I know when my son lived in Virginia, I was visiting and we're driving along the highway and there's a giant cables, above ground. And I said, what are those? I mean, they obviously weren't telephone or something like that. And he said, those are the data cables. And I'm like, whoa, something happened to those. They'll be like dead in the water. And they're
Oh,
above
yeah.
ground. They just go from pole to pole.
The CIA actually got into one of the undersea cables through an above ground place where it was going in Russia a long time ago. Just broke in that way. But they also went use submarines. But yeah, no, those data cables are absolutely critical.
They are, and they're just out there naked in the world,
And people are hacking into those?
The CIA hacked into the Russian. They had a cable for their Navy that was unencrypted, apparently, and it was hacked into a long time ago. And then they hacked into it above ground, then they put it underground, and they went to the sea, and then they used a sub and had divers hack into it down there. I guess we got data from them for 12, 15 years before they figured it out.
So how many of you have worked with websites where Google is changing titles on pages?
I've seen
Probably all of us.
I've seen examples, but I haven't really had any issues with the sites I was working on.
Do you remember?
Examples from other folks.
Do you remember Pierre Farr's blog post in Google 2012?
Years ago. Yeah. It's not new,
Yeah, they've been doing it, especially for PPC, for forever, and it's been done in organic for forever too.
I haven't even looked to see if my titles were rewritten because I don't care. And it's not, no, I don't care because I think if they did change them, it was probably for the better.
I think in most cases you're right. Yeah, it's probably. Yeah. I've seen a handful of examples of bad titles where, like.
Yeah, but okay, think about it. That stuff comes off the page. So if the title is bad and they're taking the stuff off the page, what does that say about the content on the page? It's probably weak as well. That's what it would
now, sometimes the content that shows up in a search result is from anchor text pointing to a page.
Right. Yeah.
So sometimes you don't have that much control, especially over other people linking to your page.
Yeah, I've been contending with that for probably since 2012 because SEO Roundtable linked to SEO Pros and used SEOpros.org as the link text. And no matter what I do, I can't change that.
Was it not a .org?
Pardon me?
Was it not a .org?
It is a .org. It's an organization, so it was .org. Yeah. So, it's not really a title that's gonna make people click. But if they're using my title to rank the page, that's all I really care about. Other than maybe the click-through rate is affected.
If anyone types in multi-site WordPress, the first title, organic title, is terrible. I just sent a picture of it in the private chat, but if you go to the first organic one, but you're right, it's a handful of titles, and it could have been most time it'll fix itself. It'll be better than what it is.
Like if you look at all the stuff that's being written by people who have large data sets, it looks like it's actually affecting more than what Google thinks it is.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that honestly, it's still relevant enough that I would click on it. I guess it's not the first; it's the second. The organic search. the search is multi-site WordPress, and the title is created a multi-site network, and it's like lowercase. It's weird, but it's WordPress.org. So, we're like the one below that is WordPress multi-site everything you need to know, which sounds like a better title to me.
Everything you need to know, right?
Yep.
Not really relevant to the person's intent. Do they really care if it tells them everything they want to know? Does it?
Maybe it depends
That's
on what,
marketing, man. Okay, I put a link in. Hold it, just hear my reasoning for this. I put a link in the chat window. It's Dr. Pete's article on. He looked at 80,000 or so pages, I believe. And one of the things that he was saying was they were removing what I call marketing superlatives, like best, cheap. They're subjective terms, okay? If you look in AdWords, they say don't use those terms as well. And you can't use those terms in a product feed.
It's like calling your business near us.
Yeah.
It's near us.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. But when I call them run over the top with a descriptive word, that's subjective, right? It's not a real, it's not something that's really relevant to the page. That's why I think they remove it. Like, you can't look at it from our point of view, because it's their freaking site. They get to decide. So if you're smart, you just go along with that and say, well, not much I can do with it. I'll work with it. I think that's your choices.
Well, I think that one of the results, like the results of using headers, replacing the title with headers, is for that reason the marketing superlatives, because the header exactly what it is that the article is talking about, instead of being the best, most wonderful, whatever.
Right, you're already there.
I think SEOs are writing titles to include marketing superlatives too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
For sure. And they're being like Dr. Pete, right? He said his analysis showed there was a percentage where it seemed to be those kind of words, right? Subjective words, where the title was being rewritten, and probably just those words being removed. And like in your case, Thomas, they just removed the words that they didn't agree with. Well, you got to think that's for your web page, right? That's for your web page, not the title on another site.
Absolutely.
And there are instances where people are adding business names and business locations at the end of titles.
Yeah, that's very common.
And those are getting added to the titles in search results.
Okay, but people should check and see. If I don't use a pipe to do that, what happens? A lot of times it doesn't get touched. Pipes are definitely a target in this.
Well, they're an excuse, yeah. I mean, it flags it. It's a separate thing from what's before the pipe. So, which one of these do we want to use, if either?
And get a load of this. Sometimes they even replace the pipe with a hyphen and still use the brand.
Really?
Because probably the brand was relevant to the page.
Yeah, if you typed in like M3 2018, you'd want BMW to pop up you'd want the brand to show up, right?
Right. Where, that means the superlatives you want to put in your title, just put them in the description. Better chance of getting through. Yeah. Because, I found that if you have the target keywords or the target phrase in your description, most times they'll use your description.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well.
That's a prerequisite. If you don't have that match, in my opinion, don't expect to see your description. And that's why some people think because a page ranks for something, right? The descriptions are query dependent.
Oh, yeah.
Which that's another important thing to think about. And, I think I don't know. Like most titles don't need to be truncated.
No.
Yeah, that's true.
Not if you're giving a succinct, no baloney, trying to get as many keywords into it as you can.
Well, I would, the only thing I disagree with on that, Terry, is the fact that the truncation, from Google's standpoint, no, most don't need to be truncated. But sometimes it's, the title is going to hit more users than the description. A lot of people are clicking based upon the title. So if you construct your title in a way that when it is truncated, you're still getting your main idea across. You're giving them an indication of what this page is going to be about, rather than eating up the first 32 characters. Mike Tyson's ultimate guide to, that ain't going to tell anybody shit.
Punching out.
Well, here's the thing. You can put as many characters as you want in a title. Google displays 60 to 65, weights 80 to 85, and all the rest is just counted as content on the page. So you could literally write a short story in there and they still index it all.
Oh, yeah. No, my point is the fact that I'm more interested when you talk about truncation, I'm more interested in what the user is going to see in the SERP to help guide him to either click or at least look at the meta description.
Right. That's my point. And one thing I learned doing PPC was the title of an ad does affect conversion. So when they start rewriting titles and that affects conversion, in my opinion, that's when a webmaster should have the right to say, hey, look at my GA. We got to change this. Don't you got to do this.
I just go broad match.
Pardon me.
Their solution to that when you talk to your rep is I go broad match.
You want to be engaging and persuasive, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like most long titles are only long for one reason: SEO. Otherwise, why would you spend so much time on them trying to,
Oh, it's one of those instances where the thought isn't so much we're saving time. It's that they didn't take the time to come up with the shorter, better title.
Right. Now, the thing is, as long as it doesn't affect ranking, right? Yeah. So if they're going to use the title I write and they overwrite it with something that they think is better, I'll check the conversion and I'll check the click-through rate. And if they haven't changed much, I'm not going to do anything. But if they have changed and I don't like the change, I'm going to change the title so I can, rejig that. Try and get back some of the CTR and thing by figuring out, okay, what didn't they like about this title?
Right.
And I'll tell you, the Dr. Pete's article lists what he calls 9.5 reasons, and I didn't disagree with one of them.
Yeah,
so I do have a problem with the fact that they're changing stuff, though. They're showing in the SERP an excerpt of your page as a result to a query. I understand them wanting to show something that best responds to the query, but changing what you have represented on your page, I do have a problem with.
I love the fact that both GS, Google Search Console, and Google Analytics APIs will show in Screaming Frog. so you get an idea of how often somebody clicks on a result and how many search impressions it gets.
Yup, it's all right there. That's
This-
right. You know?
This way you can tell right away whether or not it'd be a good idea to change a title, change a meta description.
You also see other things that may be influencing it too, like the H1 on the page. Like now, any page that doesn't have an H1 on it is like you're just an idiot. You were an idiot to begin with. Now you're just, a clown.
So you're leaving it in Google's hands to decide what they're going to display.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to do.
Zero control.
If you've got control over what it says, use it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I agree with that. And people are talking about if they wish there was an opt-out. I don't blame them for that, but
Well, at least a way that you can say, hey, do you think this title is really reflective of my page?
yeah.
Look at my click-through rate and look at my conversions. Look what you did to them. You know why they'll do it eventually? Because someone's going to try and sue their freaking ass off for it, is what's going to happen. Did you see some of the hatchet jobs they did on Amazon? Who's
Not
got
yet.
more money than Amazon? Oh, my. And who's a big enough freak to take them on? Bezos.
Yeah, that would make sense. I think they're getting sued constantly. I mean, if one company is in litigation all the time, it's Google.
Well, if it's not companies, it's governments. I mean, again, this is another, at some point, I wouldn't be surprised if the EU says, look, at everything you were saying about not changing this or that, right? Well, here, you're doing it. So, here's another $100 million EU fine for, doing what you want on your own site.
And Google interacts with lots of people.
Right.
There's one of these books, Indiplex maybe, was about, it was by Stephen Levy, and it was about the early days of Google. And one of the areas it talked about was how many emails Google gets. And Google gets a lot of emails from a lot of people who are asking how search results are ranked at Google.
Probably thousands a day.
Oh yeah. I wonder what the reply is. Just a default like, thanks for your question. Google it.
We've written some articles on this topic, beginner's guide to SEO, stuff like that. So why they came out with those things? I bet
nobody even sees it. Goes right in the bit bucket.
No, I suspect there are people who are in the dirty job of doing that work.
That would be a job that you would give someone to punish them for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's like Matt Cutts being on spam duty, looking for all the sites that are hacked and redirect to porn sites. And his wife used to bake cookies to reward people at Google who volunteered to look at those things.
To get it. It makes sense. Yeah. What is Matt doing now? I haven't heard from him in a long time. Still with Google?
I'm not sure. He left the U.S. government office he was in.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing, but he left there. The last thing I saw him post was something to the effect of, got some new plans, follow me to find out what I'm doing next or something like that. But that's been several months ago. Wish he'd go back to Google. I miss him. It was nice to actually have some communication.
Yeah, he's
There's
a good guy.
there's still some communication with Google.
Well, that's fair. There is still, it's just, I don't know, I had a higher level of confidence in what Matt said. As careful as he was about the way he couched his answers, I
Yeah.
never saw him lie. It was more important what he didn't say than what he did say. But,
there's a really good podcast coming from Google these days.
the one from John.
The one from John and Gary and Martin. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Yeah.
So Behind the Search, something like that.
Beyond search or behind search, yeah, something
Beyond the
like
Search, yeah.
Amazing how few people at Google actually work in search.
that.
So I read patents that come out from Google every week, the newly published and newly granted patents, and the percentage that are search only is like maybe 5%.
Yeah, because they're building everything else now. I mean, automated cars, Google Home, which is sort of a search engine, but it's also a lot of other things.
Here's our automated assistant.
Yep. Yeah, everything in the kitchen sink. It's like every tech company has to have a car now. We used to pilot system.
There's one.
Start building a rocket to go to space soon, I suppose.
Yeah.
There was one that was granted last week that described Google connecting in Google Maps with Uber and Lyft.
Oh, that'd be good.
Here's a result from the web.
Uber's maps are terrible. I see the car always spin across the street. It looks like it drives through homes and stuff.
So there's a building on the street next to mine with the same number as mine. And if I order through Uber's Foods and give them my address to deliver it to me, they call me and ask which number apartment I'm in. And I say, my apartment doesn't have numbers. It's got letters. You're on the wrong street. You're 5 minutes away. You're easy to find from here. To find me, you are at the wrong place, though. I'm in no numbered apartment. I'm in a lettered townhouse.
How difficult must it be for them to determine this street name from that street name? You think that would be a giveaway,
So somebody calls me and asks me where my building is, and they give me the building of the place they're at, and I say, you're on the wrong side of the street. Odd numbers are on one side, even numbers on the other side.
Yeah, in 5,000 cities across the country, that's kind of the way it works.
Yeah, it's sort of the way it works. Yeah. I said, how long have you been delivering?
That's the thing. I guess some of these guys, I mean, when they became Uber Eats in the beginning, that was very helpful, but they weren't delivery drivers. You could tell they weren't used to it. They weren't even getting tips back then. But it must be just a sort of a jack of all trades. But how would you guys feel if Uber actually had an automated car? Would you guys get it?
If you drive Uber Eats, you don't have to drive people around.
All right, you're driving.
And that's one of the real terrible aspects of driving Uber or Lyft. You have customers.
That are
that's kind of
often
universal to any
Yeah, you
business.
have
Bill.
people sitting behind you. Yeah.
Yeah, this business would be great if it wasn't for the damn client.
Well, especially in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see a lot of people not wanting to go into to actually work at Uber during a pandemic.
Yeah. But for a while there, Uber Eats was refusing to actually deliver the food from the street to my apartment or to my townhouse.
You have to go out and get it.
They wanted me to come out to the car to get it. And it's like, what planet are you from? There's a thing I can do. It's called stop using Uber Eats. And I just forgot their app. I deleted it.
They overcharge most of the time anyway. So,
There are a lot of places that deliver for free or for low prices.
All right.
gotta, so basically, site speed with Lighthouse scores, Google came out and said that the Lighthouse score doesn't mean much, but it seems that site speed does mean quite a bit.
It's a good thing the Lighthouse score doesn't mean much because Lighthouse scores pretty much, they're all over the map. They're unreliable as hell.
Well, I don't even know that that's one that they're using for GSC. That the data you get in GSC, is that from Lighthouse? Or I thought that was data
From Chrome,
collected directly from Chrome. So the Lighthouse
from-
test isn't even really what the same test as the one that they're using for GSC.
I think
Well, it depends on whether you're looking at lab or field. You know, the lab data, as I recall, I think it is using Lighthouse.
you got Origin.
And what if you're on 3G, 4G, 5G?
Yeah.
Well, they make it also it's 3G fast or like it's 1.5 megs or something like that. So if you want to emulate it, but I guess they're going to think about moving to 4G, but I don't know too many. I haven't seen 3G pop up on my phone in years.
Come down, stop down sometime, Thomas. Bring some oily rags. You may need to send smoke signals.
I lived in rural Virginia for a while. There were mountainous area. No, not mountainous. More like farmland, where they didn't want Wi-Fi towers because they didn't want block people's views.
Mm.
Oh no, I can't see that cow.
I can see him.
I found out where I live, there's a church, right? And I found out they put it in the steeple of the church. There's actually a cell tower in there. I was surprised.
They've been paying steeple owners for years to hide their towers there.
Makes sense. Yeah, perfect spot for them.
And this way you don't have people complaining about not seeing cows.
Yeah.
Does that mean more churches in the country?
Build a steeple just to get the tower.
Right.
I don't know. What about those religions that don't have steeples?
The Amish, they have towers everywhere.
The Scientologists?
I don't think they have.
None of the churches out here have steeples. They build great, big, giant warehouse buildings.
So,
Wow.
so
They
Jehovah's
can't-
Witnesses have kingdom halls. I don't think they have steeples.
They don't have steeples.
Yeah.
No, and there are a lot of churches I know just here where I am. There are churches like what Steve said. They're in like a warehouse like facility, and then they build the walls to create whatever rooms they want to have within that structure.
And I don't recall ever seeing a Mormon temple with a steeple either.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They usually have some pretty nice buildings, but they're a little bit more modernized.
Well,
In
they
New
have
England-
the towers down there by San Diego. You go by on the freeway.
I mean, those towers don't take up too much space. I don't mind them going anywhere. But like, I think more people are probably connected with 4G or at least LET somewhere. I think they're getting higher speeds. Some people, at least maybe the network they're on would affect that, obviously. But where they are geographically and how many bars they have probably has a bigger effect.
I've seen 5G plans for 5G cable towers that are hidden as utility towers.
Yep. I've been near a 5G tower and used it, and it was very fast, but Verizon only has 5G sporadically everywhere, so it's terrible compared to the others. It's really fast if you're very close to one.
I've seen a few in this area. A lot of times the utility poles in San Diego are disguised as if they were bells. Like on El Camino Real, the bells that used to lead to missions.
Okay, that makes sense. So how many do you think that they're using 3G then to take into consideration that some people won't have full bars where they are, and that might slow down the transmission? So even if you're on 4G or 5G, if you're not close enough to the tower, you have 1 or 2 bars, let's say, that would slow down
I don't
your
know.
signal.
I'm used to calling from home most of the time. I've got a booster at home.
Yeah, those help a lot. Those are nice. Yeah.
Now, Steve and I, we just count ourselves lucky if we could just get G, period.
I still see the LTE logo on mine from time to time.
There you go.
Yeah, LTE logo is fast. It's pretty. No. I drove through Ukraine, and for 2.5 hours, no cell phone signal whatsoever. I was like, wow, it didn't know nothing, just all fields for 2 hours.
Well, that's the way it was here in Southern California for years back when Nextel was first launched. You could drive from here to LA and you got about 5 to 10 minutes worth of connection right around Camp Pendleton. And then until you got deep into Orange County, you didn't get another signal.
Yeah.
I remember, yeah, when cell phones first came out, it was awful. You'd be talking, sometimes you'd be connected to someone else that was talking to someone on a cell phone. It was a mess. Now phones play a huge part of the internet and search. They're probably mobile is everything now. Not everything, but almost everything. I still have an ex-client of mine that is a great guy, but he has not become mobile friendly yet. I don't know why, but they think that it doesn't matter. So I've had a conversation back and forth, but then I got sick of saying the same thing. So I told them, if you want more customers, you probably should make your site mobile responsive.
I mean, I've got a client that for as long as they've had their website have never had more than 10% mobile users, and 99% of all their user base happens during work hours. They're a pure business to business play, and people just don't use their phones to talk to them.
Yeah, for a lot of business to business sites, you're only talking to folks on their desktop at the office. So
yeah,
those are the only people who are researching, purchasing agents or engineers or whatever. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, especially if you have a large site. It can be a major investment to try to convert it.
I wonder if that's changed in the last year or so.
Yeah, I think with mobile getting, like Google has hurt the sites that are not mobile friendly quite a bit. I mean, if you're going to go directly to that site anyway, or type it in by name, I don't think it's going to affect you that much. But if they want to show up for search terms, in a lot of cases, I think it will hurt them.
Well, a lot of people are working from home, and they're bring your own device world.
Yeah. Yeah, they use a combination of everything.
Why did you think it was not mobile friendly?
Well, if you go to it on a mobile device, you have to. It's just not. It's not responsive. You have to, zoom in a lot to look at it, to actually be able to read some of the text. I'll send you a link to it, and you'll see exactly.
No, I know that. I've got sites like that. That's why I asked.
Yeah. No, it looks like the desktop version. Just like no one could.
They still get the same amount of traffic. It wasn't much to begin with, but they still get the same traffic.
Yeah.
The text, the reason that the text is small has nothing to do with responsive.
It's the viewport in that situation.
No, it's on an old website before CSS, you set font size. Font size equals 2 or -2. You use numbers, not pixels. And all my sites that have that, you can't read the text. It's so small.
Yeah. No,
but it still works. It's still responsive, but the text is really small.
It's just unusable.
Because remember, tables are also kind of responsive.
Yeah. Tables can be responsive. Yep.
Right. Naturally.
Absolutely.
If you use percentages.
In Search Console, it checks all the boxes for all the red things to show up for text too close, text too small, unclickable, this. So, yeah. But if they're happy with it the way it is, you can only say it so many times. This was also 7 years ago that I worked with them, and then.
You know, I was watching a webinar earlier today with Andy Crestodina, and the guy's a conversion genius, okay? One of the points he made is, when you go into a meeting with a client, when you're faced with this kind of stuff, where, they want to do something that you know is not the best thing to do, whoever has the biggest paycheck in the room is going to win the argument. And that's usually going to be the C-suite you're arguing with. So he said, what you do is you don't ever argue with arguments. You argue with data. You don't even bother to make your point. Just show them, here's a screenshot of what this does. Here's a screenshot of what that does. You make up your mind. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to go with the data. But if you go into them with a difference of opinion, they're going to go with their opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree with that.
You're muted, Bill. You're muted. You're still muted, Bill. There you go.
I clicked unmute. It didn't unmute. It took its sound from my headphones and put it to the speakers. And then gave me a message that said, your headphones are unplugged.
Seems to be a day for sound issues, huh?
Yeah.
They weren't unplugged.
I was just curious about that client that I mentioned. I went and looked at their technology, and their browser share on their website is 58% Internet Explorer.
Wow.
IE6?
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that they're perfectly content in their perspective of not caring what Google thinks.
What do they sell? Retro games or something?
No, it's a business to business website.
That's why the IE6.
Yeah.
I mean, that browser hasn't even been supported by Microsoft for probably probably over 5 years at least.
So how many of the computers they owned were killed by Y2K?
None of them, because we put the BIOS chip in all of them.
Yeah, I had to upgrade the firmware and some computers for that too.
That's one of those things that really bugs the hell out of me, because people go, yeah, everybody got all bent out of shape about Y2K and then nothing happened. It's like, yeah, nothing happened because we busted our asses to make sure nothing worked. They always leave out that part.
I get asked about that from the Judicial Information Center. I was working at the court, and I said, okay, so some of the sodas in the soda machine got warm. And they said, that's it? I said, I work. Unlike you people, I worked. I did lots. You didn't do anything.
I had one client. We went all their workstations. We replaced the BIOS. We put that little add-on BIOS card in all their machines, and then on January 4th, I got a phone call. Nothing happened. You ripped me off, and I'm like, fine, I'll come take those cards out. And so that's what I did. And the next day, he called me back and said, sorry.
I had to come in the office January 1st, 2000 to check and everything. It was my responsibility.
Uh-huh.
People from the Judicial Information Center were calling saying, is everything working okay? And I'm sending response saying, everything's fine. What's wrong with you?
You imagine if it had gone wrong for that? You got the motors out early and stuff.
Well, their answer when something broke was unplug it, let it cool off, and then plug it back in. And it's like,
not hit it.
It's like, where did you learn about computers?
That's some advanced programming shit there.
Yeah.
I had a buddy in Dallas that during that whole pre-Y2K scare, who his attitude was, "Oh, this is just a bunch of crap. It's nothing. You know, it'll fix itself." And he did absolutely nothing. They ran a timeshare operation. They had like 17 IBM mainframes with clients all over the world, and they went down. All of a sudden, everybody kicked back to like 1900 date stamps.
Yeah.
All their databases went inside out.
Oh.
And he was on the street about 4 hours later.
Yeah. Wow.
Gosh.
But it took them like 10 days to get back up online. Our UPS system took them down one time. They claimed that they were losing $45,000 per minute
Wow.
in that downtime.
I've seen some crazy downtime.
They were down for like 9.5 days with that. So
That's a long time.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's awful.
So we were responsible for the criminal justice system and the civil justice system. We had the potential to cost people their lives or millions of dollars.
Or let murderers out early.
Or let murderers out early. So we didn't do any of that. Everything worked fine because we worked. We made sure everything worked.
Yeah. It was a huge undertaking. I recall like all the firmware updates from Apple coming out right before that. I was using Macs mostly, but the PCs also having to. I wasn't actually fixing them, but I remember like quite a few service providers that I went into had to do major updates. So
I was in an office with 80 coworkers. They were all able to work that next day.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Yeah.
You know, our phones worked. Everything else.
It was good that was caught early. I mean, we had enough time to prepare, but you're right, it was a lot of work. All the network. So Lighthouse, I think what they're saying about Lighthouse scores not mattering in Google, I think what they mean is that if you like fake your Lighthouse score, like there was an example of that with Shopify. There was a app that would trick the Lighthouse tool or whatever, and it was basically like taking the CSS or something and like making it 100 for everything. Or I was using user agents, but it's a waste. You know, it's sad that people paid money for those apps that actually didn't do anything to strip them off. But after that, I think, you know, seeing the conversion rates increase after speeding up some of those sites, those are the real benefits. You know, if someone tricks Google, that's one thing, but if you can actually speed it up, make sure to do your speed tests on not just Google, but like webpagespeed.org.
There's another story that was kind of interesting. How many of y'all use Bing Webmaster Tools?
I use it every once in a while.
rarely, but yeah.
It's pretty cool if anyone was on Bing. I would.
So how much like Google Webmaster Tools is Bing Webmaster Tools?
It's a little different.
Was there
More
some
stuff on Bing.
was there some copying going on there?
I think so.
Well, one of the things, have you ever used Yandex?
The
Yandex
Webmaster.
Webmaster Tools is very similar to Google too.
Bing ads look like an exact copy and paste of Google ads, to the point where they will import your Google ads straight into Bing.
So
That's kind of a giveaway there, huh?
how much of that is due to Google ads being direct ripoffs of Yahoo ads?
It's true.
I think it was worth 20% of Google. That's how much Google paid Yahoo for the right to use their ads.
Yeah.
Well, it was Overture then. Or are you talking when they put their ads on Yahoo's site?
When Google adopted ads, it took from Yahoo.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they stole them from Overture, or if they stole them from Yahoo directly.
It's like 15 years ago, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be Overture. Probably.
Now you can sign into Bing Web Console with your Google Search Console. Log in.
I always looked at it in that, in sales, I'd get fired if I went after the 20% audience instead of the 80 full time.
They're like the 4% audience now, though. Maybe they're.
Well, who knows? I just know that the lowest market, share of audience I've seen is 80%. But that was a long time ago. It's probably even higher now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Do you
it's like,
do you
where
get
do you
to
spend your time?
do you get to the point where you say, okay, I've optimized enough for Google. I'm getting all I can get from them. I'm gonna spend a couple minutes optimizing for Bing.
I make sure a site's crawled through Bing, and that's about it. And then I optimize for the user. Try to optimize for user experience more than I obviously optimize for the search engine, of course, a little bit, but the user experience and I think all the same things.
Check your log files and say, oh, I get 1 or 2 visitors from Russia. I need to optimize for Yandex.
Yeah.
If we're targeting Russia,
That would be the same thing. That would be the same logic.
It would be the same logic.
Yeah. No, I mean, actually talking about log files, I was looking through some the other day, and Bing crawls some of my client sites quite often, more than Google. But I think they're just copying what Google does slowly.
Yeah. I don't think they're copying. I just think they're all looking at the same stuff, using the same methods. So the results are going to be pretty close. What I've always found is that the big difference is Google places a lot more weight on incoming links than
hopefully not right now. Maybe it's starting to
Yahoo
change.
or Bing.
If Apple has that search engine on their phone, that will be quite a game changer.
That'd be even worse than optimizing for Bing. Like, really? If you're going to optimize for Amazon, optimize for the store, not.
I still
not
remember.
Amazon search.
I still remember Apple delivering people to the middle of the Atlantic for some local searches.
Oh yeah, their maps were bad. They're better now, but they're still not ideal.
I don't have a Apple iPhone. I don't know.
I've never had an Android phone. I'm sure they're great. I just stuck with what I know.
There are times when you get a navigational, you look something up, and Google will deliver you to the highway that goes past a place.
Yeah.
And say the location is on your right. and you look and it's the side of the highway.
Yeah, you can't take it right.
If you own one of those businesses, you should be navigating to your own business. And
Absolutely.
if it doesn't work, you should call
Fix it.
them because there's a phone number to call them and
Yeah.
fix it.
Google My Business will help you. Yeah. One of the few places in Google Ads that you can actually call and get any answers. I can't imagine calling headquarters, and I could do it for a prank, see what they do, but I think they'd hang up pretty quick. I don't think you get a human being unless you got real creative.
Phone up and complain about the results.
Yeah. Hey, I was ranking number 5. Now I'm number 8. What's the deal?
I get a phone call saying that my business should rank number 1 for my business.
Call Google and say, hey, your listing could be better.
And they said they were Google. So is this the guy I was talking to?
It's like calling up Microsoft and asking, are you in front of your keyboard right now?
So I love the Microsoft support guys who wanted to remote connect into my computer.
Yeah, they'll give you money back, right? Or whatever.
And you ask them, are you trying to hack me? And they say, yeah.
I spoke to one of those guys for quite a while, and at the end I just started screaming at him, why'd you waste my time? Why'd you waste my time? I'm like, are you kidding me? But yeah,
he was asking you why you were wasting his time?
Yeah, he was really pissed. He had a lot of things I can't say on the show, but to say to me. And I let him have it. It was a good one. But I yelled at him for about maybe a minute straight, and then just told him he shouldn't be doing this to people. And he's hurting people. And he started yelling at me, and I was like, wow.
The guy pretending to be from my utility company told me that because I hadn't paid my bill, which I had paid the day before, and their computers were broken, so they hadn't received it. And I wasn't going to the local 7-Eleven and buying a gift card and sending it to him. So he's going to have his technician come and turn everything off in my house, and I wouldn't be able to turn it back on for 2 weeks.
Got to get those gift cards, or they're coming to get you. They'll put the cost
Right.
on you.
A gift card, yeah.
What's that, Doc?
Kind of tell your technician to wear his bulletproof vest.
I said, if your technician wants to come to my house, fine. I'd be happy to beat the crap out of him.
You'll never take me alive. I feel like I've been putting a pin in that system anyway for as long as I can to keep. You got to tell me it broke. It messed with my. Just say you messed with your electricity and shouldn't. Thanks for telling me it broke. I'll go fix it. Way of rigging it, something like that. Those guys. There's a great thing, rescam.org. ME at rescam. If you get email spam, just forward it to them, and it uses AI to send a never-ending conversation to waste their time.
Because when the credit card companies want your spam, your phishing email, they won't accept it because they're afraid of receiving a copy of that phishing email to their place because they're afraid they're going to get hacked too.
Well, even PayPal has that. If you get a phony PayPal email, they give you an email address to send it to.
Yeah.
Send them one sometime. When you immediately get a kickback, they won't accept it.
Right.
Oh yeah. Any links or attachments, I believe. There's a lot of clamping down on that, which makes sense. I mean, most of the good email systems out there can actually scan the links.
At what point does it make sense to say, send me your phished emails and refuse them?
Exactly.
It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever.
I mean, the easiest thing to do is hit the spam button in Google or whatever email provider you're using. That automatically will send the signal, or rescam them just for fun if you want to do that. But like email spam it seems to be much better under control after DMARC has been kind of universally accepted by most businesses. Not all businesses have it in place, but having DKM and
I love DMARC. They were one of the first audio watermarking places.
Really? They did audio?
So you have your TV on, it's playing music, your phone hears it, your phone sets a cookie on that TV channel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They know which commercials you've watched.
So then when you search for that item,
they've tracked imperceptible to human beings ultra high frequency messages that are attached to those emails.
Right. Like I've actually tested that where there's a thing of like let's say a 911's on the screen, and you type in Porsche, it'll come up with a 911, and if you see a Camaro, it'll come up with a Camaro if you type in Chevy. So like it knows basically what you're watching, or what's being broadcast at the same time, probably in your area as well. It's pretty good. I wonder if that's actually wiretapping too, because it's sending us. No one really cares in the justice system, but it's got to be in some way. But I don't. I think like you guys were saying earlier, the EU is the only one that actually has any enforcement. But you know what I've always wondered is 8.8.8 is the reclusive DNS cache, right? It caches everything that goes through a website if it's hit on the local computer, if you switch your DNS. How is that? That's their best trick ever, because they don't turn that off in the EU, and people use it all the time. That gives them all the data that's going through the screen. It's a cached, a mirror version of everything. I mean, that's the pipe. Like, I don't know why no one figured that one out. I was always shocked that they were able to. I guess they said they're not going to keep that data. I don't know. But who knows? It all goes back to California. Then they. So what are everyone's opinions real quickly on titles? Like, so basically the moral of the story is rewrite your titles with intent. Look at the search intent and think of the query terms and put them in the title. No, don't keyword stuff. Don't put the complete guide or the everything you ever wanted to know about whatever.
Well, the ultimate rule of SEO is to rank highly, but also get clicked on when you rank highly.
Yeah. You want to get clicked.
If you're not getting clicked, you're making a mistake.
I just write them for the user.
That's a good title.
Yeah,
Don't click here. You're making no.
I write to the user too.
Well, like, I mean, you can see why the H1s are actually, once someone's gotten there, it makes sense that they were already there. Use the clickbait as the title. But I think Google will.
Well, if you're clickbaiting the title, then it should be changed.
Right. If it's deceptive or something like that, absolutely it should be.
Well, that assumes you always write the best title too.
I mean, I have the award. No, I'm just
That's
kidding.
a little, because, not just you, but anyone. I would want to go to the data and see, has this changed my conversions or CTR?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Look at impressions, click
that's like, if you want to know the temperature, if the water's boiling, sticking your hand in it to figure it out. Usually not the best way.
You get hard evidence, but
Painful evidence.
Painful
Well, we're at the top of the hour, everyone. Time to call our show a halt for today. So thank you for joining us. Take
Thank you,
care.
everyone.
Bye.
have a great week.